Hi, I'm Sarah from the upcoming. A real pleasure to be with you here at the 2025 Berlinale. Maybe you can begin with a brief introduction to your film Beginnings. For people who haven't seen it yet, what can they expect?
What can they expect? They can expect to see a film that is about Ane and Thomas, who's played by Trine and David Danzig, who are in the midst of a divorce. And they're quite ready to get divorced, and I think it's quite adult and very settled. And then Ane has a stroke, and life turns upside down, and nothing is what they thought it would be.
And can you tell us a bit about the genesis of the project? What was the initial spark for the idea? Was it this character, this setup, someone suffering a big change in their life, or specifically someone who's had a stroke? I don't know. What was the starting point for you?
I think it's never just one thing. At least it's not for me to what actually makes a project become a project. It's been a long journey. It's a film that's been with me for many years. I put the first word on paper, I think about 6 years ago, but it's been with me for much longer than that. Ever since film school, really, and I've been walking around it, trying to go, how do I kind of deal with these thematics? I think illness has played a big part of my life when I was younger, and the family that I grew up in, and I spent a lot of time thinking, how do we move forward? Did we move forward? And how do people move forward from, when everything changes and we lose control?
You've played lots of strong female characters in the past. What was maybe different about Anne as a character? And I guess trying to get in the mindset of this woman who seems to sort of, have a bit of a handle on things, but everything's then suddenly unraveling. And she sort of, has to start again in a way and rebuild back up again. So what was the appeal for you taking on the role?
Well, first of all, I think it was a beautiful script, very complex, but you could feel the personal DNA that comes from Jeanette. And I wanted to work with Jeanette as well. And then David Danzig, that is a great, great actor. And we have a history. We have played together many years ago. And I just love acting with him. But the character for me is a huge challenge. Jeanette she introduced me to a very important woman that is a physiotherapist that works with rehabilitation. And I prepared with her, learn how to walk for the first time, how does it look like and how does it feel like to not be able to use your arm. And I started to swim because it was a very important thing for Jeanette, that it's part of Anne's travel that she tries to get back to some kind of acceptance of her new body, and she swim with half a body. So I really practiced a lot to be able to do that. That was a huge challenge. And then the biggest challenge for me with this part was actually not to act. Because you can kill the moment with acting, in a way. I always kind of try to explore the moment, and I borrow the eyes of a character and look at the world from their perspective. But here in this story, every moment is so subtle. And I really had to put away all my vanity and all, my ego and everything. I had to put that aside and then just explore how is it to just, not being in control of anything. And that has been a beautiful and challenging journey. And I could only do it because I felt that we could do it together, and I felt a big generosity was, coming from Jeanette and the whole team. And I think it has been a beautiful experience, actually, to be able to dare to be fragile, vulnerable with the character.
And did you always know Trine was going to be your Anne? And how did you work with her? I guess to give this performance, which is full of restraints. So was that something, you had to collaborate on and work on together?
Oh, most definitely. There was a big collaboration creating this character. I mean, no one but Trine could play this, and we've been wanting to work together for such a long time. And I think when we talked from the very beginning, I remember the very first meeting we had, we were sitting in a cafe in Copenhagen, and you said, okay, now I'm going to give myself to you and to this project. And I thought that generosity has kind of carried through, and that's what you did, and that's what she did. And I think that this part needed that. When Trine talks about putting ego and vanity aside, one thing is to say it, but the other thing is to actually do it. And she did. And that generosity is something that, made me feel very grateful, of course. But it's, creating something together like that, it's a long process, and it's a lot of conversation. At a certain point, you stop talking about it, and then you just experience and you do. And I think that's how Trine works, and that's how I like to work as well. And you trust each other. I think that's kind of, that's what we did.
And I think it's what I love about the film as well. It's not sort of over-sentimentalizing any part of the journey or even the trajectory of, the characters' relationships. It sort of leans into the messiness of it and the conflict that she has within herself of, mutually at the same moment feeling completely helpless, but also being very resilient. So was that something very important as well, is, not to make it kind of too smooth a journey, but sort of let it be messy and nuanced?
Definitely. I mean, I felt that was part of your vision from the beginning of, and I felt it in the script and the way that you work with characters and all the talks we had. It's very important that it's imperfect in a way, because that's also the topic of the film that Jeanette talks a lot about. That, I mean, you can tell it yourself. You can, yeah.
I can do it. I think, yeah. But of course, it meant a lot, and I think dealing with a topic like that, where I hope that it can be a little bit a slice of life, and life is not perfect. We have this idea that it should be, or I think we're confronted with the fact that that life should be a certain kind of thing, and the box for what is normal has just become very, very narrow, to my opinion. But I think for me, I was just very interested in exploring what is outside that box and how does life actually look like in all of its, mess and chaos and everything like that.
There was room for improvisation and like exploring the moment and for instance, the scene in the kitchen where they discuss and they can't really communicate at all, but they have a lot to say underneath. And that scene we have like 10 versions of or something. And you just like, we could just have spent the whole day like that, because we learn so much about the background stories and all these kind of things. And I feel that instead of just having decided a lot of things, we have all like explored it and found out what are actually going on here, shooting the whole thing. And that makes it a little bit more complex, because you can decide things, but then it's a little bit, it can be a little too simple.
And can you say a few more words about working with David? I mean, there is such realism in that kind of, there's like that simmering resentment that can happen, in a relationship. And even, when harsh words aren't even being spoken, you can feel it in the air. So I don't know, how are you navigating that on set? Were you almost having to not talk to each other in between?
No, we know each other so well. We are very good friends. And we did a very special film together called A Soap 20 years ago almost. And we were here at the Berlinale, and it was David's first feature film back then. And so we have a very special connection, and we have been longing to work together for a long time. We met shortly in a film called The Royal Affair, but only like some scenes. And here now we have the possibility to play the two leads together. And we have been longing for that for a long time. So on a personal level, we know each other very well. Acting-wise, I feel very related to him, because he's an explorer as well, like me, and he is he's very unpredictable, and he's bright, obviously, but he is also, he has a lot of courage, that he just, he just do things, and then you have to follow. And I just love that, because if the director is making room for that as well, then you can actually get in touch with all the unexpected things that are all the details that are making the whole thing a little bit more real and nuanced. And these two people, you know, they have a lot of things going on that we don't really get to know about. But you just have to get the feeling of it and be with them. So that is, and that could be in just like a little moment where we look at each other, and then you have like a whole story. But I think it's a combination of the material and the way that we work, and that we all work together and shot this film, and also, of course, that we are very safe with each other. So we have fun.
And maybe from your perspective, you know, working with David and also the young girls, of course, who are both phenomenal.
Working with all four of the ensemble cast, I think it's hard because it sounds like, oh, this is what you have to say, oh, it was great, whatever. But it is profoundly, like, it was a very profound, very deep experience for me to work with. I mean, work with David and Trine. I think I couldn't. I mean, they're both absolutely incredible, and I think our collaboration just, you know, it fit quite well, and we enjoyed it. I enjoyed every single take, and every single take was different, and it was an exploration. We explored together, and I think that's quite a powerful thing to do. And I mean, with the children, with the Björk, who plays Clara, is not a child. She's a young woman. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I think she has you know, some people just have access, you know, and they have the generosity to share that access with someone like me, and then at the end with the audience. And she has that. It's her first feature, and to be here at Berlin, I think is just, I'm so proud of her, and I'm, you know, proud that she wanted to do this film with me and with us. And I mean, working with the child, little Luna, who plays Marie, the kid was, to begin with, written as a boy, but I casted both boys and girls for this, gender neutral for this part. And I think she came in, you know, she has, her personality just kind of shines through. You know, she's got a big personality, and, you know, she said, like, first thing she told me is like, I want to be an artist. And I think she just had that energy to kind of, she was ready to grab it, you know, she was ready to be there and be in it. And we had a lot of fun with it, and I enjoyed making this family a lot.
We had one long improvisation before we started shooting as a family, you know, to get used to each other, and how does it look, you know, when we are in the same room and eating and stuff like that. So we did a little preparation to get into the family patterns and stuff. But else, I mean, it was really just like scene by scene, exploring and having the time to explore. And from you, like the mise en scène with the kids, and obviously Björk, that plays Clara, she is a huge, huge talent. They both are, but I mean, she's a grown up, so she's already an actress. So it is very moving actually to be here for the first time, and she's, like, we had dinner last night, and she's like, oh, I'm so nervous for today. And we all are very nervous, but it's always like when you see people, when you watch them for the first time experience all this, it is amazing. It's still amazing for us. I've been at the Berlinale for so many times, but it's still like, wow, we are having this premiere, because you're sitting in Superlats, where we are going tonight, with a big audience, and you show them your film. It's such a powerful thing. And then you do the red carpet and all this, and now we just have to do it together with Björk, and she's there for the first time. It's going to be a great night.
And in terms of the takeaways from the film, I guess you are just shining a bit of a spotlight on the reality of what it's like for not just someone who's having to recover from something, but for those around them as well, and the pressure it puts on their relationships, and having to rebuild not just physically, but also emotionally, your identity. But within that, there seems to be, you know, there is kind of a hopeful message that even when it can feel like everything is going wrong in life, there can be this sort of light at the end of the tunnel, or something positive that can come out of something that's ostensibly very negative. So is that something that you would like people to take away?
I mean, I would love if that would be something that people would take away from the film. I would love if they could feel that this is a relatable film, and that they can feel seen when they sit in the cinema and watch it. I mean, it is a shared experience to sit in that cinema. But I think for me, like I said earlier, it's not about it necessarily being that might be something better at the end of the tunnel. It's just the fact that life does continue and there is a way to move forward. And these are all characters that do move forward from something that has been very difficult for them and that affects all of them. They all get a way to react in the story. And I think all the characters, it was very important for me that they felt truthful. And there's a little bit of me, I think, in all of them. I think to say that audience specifically needs to take hope away from it, I don't know if it's that simple. I think I would prefer if they feel seen when they watch it.
For me, right now, I mean, the world is really complicated and a lot of people are suffering and, you know, it's and struggling. And so I think right now cinema is really a good place to communicate. I mean, that we crawl into the dark and we share the burden of life and we try, you know, with this film we try to create some moments where you can feel seen or you can relate in an existential way. And I think that's very important because we all have existential themes despite our religion and gender and culture and wherever we live. And this is where we can share it. That's in the cinema. And I mean, for this film, there are so many things to relate to because it is actually about life. And how to struggle with a lot of different things. It doesn't even have to be illness. It could be other crisis or like a divorce or, you know, it can be like when a crisis hit you and the unexpected happens and you have to face a new reality and you have to find a new acceptance in life.
Very well put. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me.
Thank
Huge
you.
congratulations on the film.
Thank you so
much. And really
much.
enjoy that premiere tonight. I'm very
Oh,
excited
thank
for
you.
you.